Women in Finance is a podcast series that features key women in the finance industry. They embody a vision, a career path, a function, and bring a different perspective to finance by sharing anecdotes and their backgrounds and professions. I'm here with Nesrine Besbes for Women in Finance. Hi, Nesrine.
Hello. Hi, Caroline.
So you've been working in the finance industry for 15 years now. You've worked in France, Switzerland, and now in Luxembourg and Belgium as the lead partner for financial services at IBM. And I'd like to know, what's the most impactful lesson that you've learned over the years in your career?
Sure. I've been a consultant for these 15 years, and maybe the lesson number one that comes to mind is about building client trust and being obsessed with client value. Whether you are delivering a pack of slides with a target operating model or a new process description, or whether you are delivering the new system that changes how you do credits at a private bank, or whether you are delivering a new way of operating for finance or procurement or wherever, at the end of the day, it's really important to deliver the value that the client is expecting and is paying for. And that's what earns you trust, and that's what earns you loyalty, which at the end of the day is the number one ingredient for a successful business in consulting. And that follows you from one country to the other. At the end of the day, the world is small. So I would say that's the number one lesson. Now, if you allow me to share another one, I think it's about learning and curiosity. Whether you are learning the new emerging technology trend, which is going to change how we do business and how we live, almost on a daily basis, or whether you are learning a new culture, a new way of working, a new way to collaborate from one country to the other and from one mindset to the other across these different countries and these different working groups, that's always very enriching. And if anything, it helps you adapt to an ever-changing world and embrace those changes with more agility, if you will.
So you currently work at IBM Consulting as a lead partner for the financial services. So can you tell us a bit more about your job, and can you describe a typical day?
The one thing I love about my job is that there is no typical day. It's always changing. There is always something new. And that's what kept me going, and that's what kept me waking up for such a job over the past 15 years. That being said, we can talk about the key ingredients or typical ingredients, which are really about understanding what the client's issue is, understanding what the client is trying to achieve, setting that into the bigger scene and context of the client within their company, within the market, within the ecosystem, and from there start to assemble the most fit and suitable solution. And that solution, you could think about it as a puzzle, bringing the best of breed of IBM Consulting from our various delivery teams from across the globe, bringing also the best of breed from our ecosystem partners. And with that, bring the best pieces to that puzzle while fine-tuning it and sharpening it further in a co-creation mode with the client. So I guess these are the typical ingredients. To really try to understand what the client wants or what the client is trying to achieve, and from there, go and create something. Go and create something new, something effective to fix that particular problem or to drive that particular value. And sky is the limit as to where to get those pieces to that solution puzzle from IBM and beyond.
It seems that it needs a lot of creativity.
Yes, absolutely. In my business, absolutely. I'm not creative. I'm not a musician, but I'm the consulting musician, if you will. It's like a chef d'orchestre or a symphony we are building together for that client. So I'd like to think of my work as a piece of art that addresses an issue for my client, and that I walk away leaving behind something really useful and the client is really happy about.
Can you share an example where creativity has made you particularly proud?
Every project has made me proud one way or the other, but maybe nostalgia would take me to the very first one. to the very first project I've done in my career as a consultant. It was in Paris 15 years ago, and we were working for a private bank to help them come up with the concept and design and build an in-house tool for risk monitoring for credits in the private banking space across their offices, across the regions. And we were working with the business teams of this bank, with the IT teams in Paris, in Asia, in India. And I guess the fact that it was such an intense project, starting from a blank page and coming up to something that still operates and still functions to this day, 15 years on, fostering friendships which are still alive today around that project where we've worked intensely together. And as an anecdote, that's where I met my husband. So I think that project would always have a particular place in my heart, where creativity came from the concepts to how to monitor the risk, to what screens we designed together on a PowerPoint slide on how the tool would be looking like, and testing that and co-creating that with the end users from across the offices of that bank. I think, yeah, that's something that was a lot of fun, definitely.
Thanks for sharing the anecdote.
Sure.
As a consultant, your job is to help companies manage their businesses. And today, generative AI is revolutionizing how businesses are managed. So how do you see the impact of generative AI in your work on a day-to-day basis?
I'm already seeing it in my daily tasks, and I'm already seeing the impact a great deal, actually. Even thanks to our own IBM Generative AI tool, based on watsonx, which comes from IBM and from our technology branch. Basically, I'm having a generative AI assistant helping me reading client documents, publications, helping me reading and summarizing annual reports, identifying key updates in a regulation and better articulate those updates to a client-specific context, draft a skeleton for a proposal, automate a market research, do an initial content creation. So I'm very happy with this new assistant, if you will, which is saving me a tremendous amount of time and saving the teams a tremendous amount of time while we focus on how to shape and further enhance the value proposition we're trying to build to the client, and leaving that groundwork to the generative AI solution. So this is on the day-to-day, on how I'm preparing my own work towards my clients. But it's also about these solutions we've talked about and which we are bringing to the clients, even if the initial ask from our clients is not about generative AI or is not about implementing this or that use case of generative AI. What does not seem to be an AI project at the beginning finds itself infused with AI and with generative AI as we're looking for optimization levers and as we're looking for that more creativity to bring the next best thing to the client in those solutions we're creating for them.
So how does it contribute to increasing the success of your clients?
Obviously, I can tell you about how much generative AI and AI is already revolutionizing the way banks and insurers are working and are serving their customers and clients. Maybe I can start with a few examples to make it even more tangible. I would start with an example which is not even client-related. Generative AI and AI are very powerful tools to consume data and to understand and synthesize and summarize that data. So I could start with an example, IT for IT, and how generative AI is already making up for the shortage of skills on some of the legacy IT languages, for example, to better understand a code, to better summarize that code, to better reverse engineer it and potentially rewrite it in something in another language. That's a complete IT for IT, which is already enhancing the day-to-day life of the IT teams, of the developer teams, And again, compensating for some of the shortages in terms of skills on some of these legacy languages, for example, or some of these old languages, or doing a better job at documenting and reverse engineering some of the codes, and therefore offering a better maintenance opportunity for these applications. This is one example, far away from the customers of a bank or an insurer. But now if we look once again at this ability of generative AI to consume and digest data, you can very well use it in the asset management, reading the funds prospectuses, for example, and being able to understand the compliance of that prospectus with a number of regulatory rules, a number of investment rules, making the life easier of an asset manager to make tailored investment decisions while absorbing the groundwork for them. And if I go more and more towards client-facing examples, we see clients in banking and insurance alike, customers. We see the customers of our clients interacting more and more with chatbots, with voice bots. For example, some of my insurance clients tell me that they observe their customers interacting more at ease with bots and with AI than with humans when it comes to reporting an injury or to reporting a claim. Maybe it's less judgmental, or they are fearing less judgment, and therefore the claim goes more smoothly, which is with an AI bot and with generative AI, than with the usual call center, if you will. So it almost sounds counterintuitive, yet it is true, and that is freeing up a lot of time for the employees to focus on the more complex claims, on the more complex cases, and to tailor the answer of the insurer to their customers based on the insurance policy and based on the specificities of the situation of the client. So that is undoubtedly increasing the customer satisfaction while reducing the operating costs and minimizing the operational errors as well when it comes to capturing the information from the client in these reports.
What kind of complex cases employees are going to face?
I think they will focus more and more time on the complex policies, on the complex credit cases in banking, for example, and therefore they will focus more on the value proposition to their customer. The same way I was talking about a lot of the groundwork which is now being done for me by my generative AI assistant on IBM Consulting, while I am dedicating and finding and freeing up more time to really focus on building the solution to my clients. Our banking and insurance colleagues are also freeing up that time to focus on packaging a better product or tailoring the product better to their clients' needs as they have more time to understand those needs, and as generative AI is already helping them better understand the client behaviors, understand the tremendous amount of data, and articulate that into a better description of what their customers are expecting from them. So I guess in conclusion, AI is already significantly, and generative AI is already significantly influencing customer service in the banking and in the insurance sector, helping these organizations improve their customer experiences and decrease their expenses, while also boosting the revenues, obviously, and acquiring new market share via new products or via new ways to serve their clients. So this is allowing these businesses to stay competitive and adapt to this changing world by deploying generative AI technologies.
So you've talked a lot about customer and partner trust, and it's a crucial topic in the banking sector. And it is something that you are particularly passionate about. And that's why you're specifically interested in AI governance. Can you tell us what is AI governance?
Yeah, sure. So we need to trust AI and generative AI and the outcome they are providing to clients and to the organization as a whole. And for that, we need to govern AI. And I would say the plain vanilla definition of AI governance is the arsenal of processes, policies, and procedures which are put in place to manage and oversee the functioning of AI and the use of artificial intelligence within an organization. You could almost think of AI as a new employee that needs to abide by a number of rules around data management, around data access, around security, around ethics and compliance, around the set of rules that are already available for the rest of the employees and for the systems which are working and functioning within a bank or within an insurer. We would need to apply those as well on the AI side to ensure that the AI systems operate in alignment with the organizational goals, the values and principles of the company, and to ensure that they operate in a way that is transparent, accountable, and subject to the appropriate controls. So this is what's about governance or governed AI and responsible AI, to be able afterwards to trust the outcome of that AI solution or of that AI tool.
And how do you approach it at IBM Consulting?
So at IBM Consulting, AI must not only be governed by companies. We talk a lot about companies. AI definitely must be governed to earn trust. This we have established. But for that, it's corporations and governments alike which need to work together and have critical roles to play. And IBM has worked with governments worldwide to advance smart AI regulation in a way that protects people by focusing on the riskiest real-world uses of AI, but not the underlying algorithm. You can think of AI regulation in a way that where we do not regulate the wheel, but rather its use on cars, trains, or planes. The same approach is the right one for AI. And typically last month, we helped at IBM launch the AI Alliance, which is a diverse community of AI researchers, creators, developers, committed to promote a broader, open, and more inclusive AI innovation. And we also, it isn't only for the big corporations or for the big companies, we have typically launched a Center of Excellence of Generative AI to help organizations of all sizes anywhere in the world embrace the future of an effective and ethical AI for business.
So what are the challenges of AI governance in your profession in the banking sector in general?
I'm afraid not to do it justice if I give you an exhaustive, or if I pretend to give you an exhaustive list of challenges when it comes to AI governance, as this depends a lot on the companies, on the bank, on the market, on the country, and so on. There is, however, one challenge that comes to mind very easily, which is data and data governance in itself. As you know, AI technologies are huge data consumers. And so if the data isn't right or is not well governed, you can imagine that the outcome of AI using that data cannot be trusted neither. So maybe if you allow me, I'd like to step away from AI for a minute to really cover data through two major data points which struck me when I came across them recently. The first one is about data governance within banks. 2/3 of the banks do not have a holistic or an overall data governance framework. And 70% of these banks actually cite the number one reason to deal with data governance being a regulatory requirement or a regulatory ask, which is not a surprise, to be fair, given the complexity of the topic if it were to be addressed from floor to ceiling. The second data point is that 88% of major IT projects fail to deliver on time and within budget. Why? Because of data integration and data quality issues. So you can imagine what that would mean for the implementation of generative AI for banks or for insurers or for any company for that matter. And you can imagine the burden falling on the shoulders of AI and generative AI if we start with data that is lacking the proper governance and quality standards. And this is precisely why when we look at AI use cases or generative AI use cases, I always insist with my clients to start with data governance and data quality assessment. There is this saying, garbage in, garbage out. I believe that with AI, it's garbage in amplified garbage out. So managing and governing the data, I end up answering your question, in my view, that is one of the key challenges lying ahead of AI governance.
Moving away from technology and AI and going back to the human aspects of an organization, what is the proportion of women at IBM Consulting in the same level of expertise as you are?
A lot of progress has been made in this area, obviously, but a lot is still to be done. I think a few years back when I made partner, one of my colleagues showed me a study where there are more Johns as CEOs of American companies than women. So we do have still quite some work to do. And it strikes me a bit that women are treated as a minority while we are representing 50% of the population on Earth, of the human population on Earth, after all. Which is why I'd like you to allow me to make it not only about women, but about true diversity beyond genders, about the diversity that embraces colors, religions, social upbringings, culture, sexual orientation, and so on and so forth. And I believe we still have a lot of work, all of us, at all levels, to drop the bias and see the value and enrichment behind that lie behind a diverse working environment.
How do you assert yourself in this predominantly male environment that you're talking about?
I think I simply remain true and genuine to my values and to the way I operate and I work, doing the right thing no matter what, and leading with empathy.
Speaking of being true to yourself, do you have any advice that you would give to a young man or women starting their career?
It kind of closes the loop with the first question, which is where I shared one of the lessons about learning. And I would say to anyone who starts their career, not to be afraid to learn, not to be afraid to question what you've learned. It isn't only about learning, it's to remain open-minded and always questioning that learning because things are in a constant change. So not be afraid to embrace that change.
Are there women or men role models who have guided you?
Of course. And I think at the end of the day, these are the people who lead with empathy and integrity. These are the people who always do the right thing towards their clients, towards their teams, towards their community, no matter what.
To conclude this podcast, I'd like to know what does ambition mean to you?
I believe my view of the word ambition and my interpretation of the word ambition has evolved over the years. It might have meant something about moving on from one career level to the other as quickly as possible at the beginning of my career journey. Then it must have meant achieve what's best for the project, for the client, for the teams, and for the people. But I think today it has evolved again. Now that I look at my kids, at my family, I think to me the ambition is becoming more and more about leaving a legacy that matters to my clients, to my team, to my community, to my family. And that can only happen by always doing the right thing to all of those components of society where I'm evolving. And always do the right thing in my job and with my family. So I guess that's what ambition means to me today. It's really leaving behind me something that matters and that's useful and beneficial to others.
Thank you, Nesrine, for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Caroline.